Well, coming up in this episode, man, I find it ironic that every time somebody says anything about this Nolan Wells tragedy, Brandon Tatum and the lawyers for the boys are screaming defamation. You see, they didn't lawyer it up because of everybody that's talking online, on YouTube, on social media, talking about coming for these YouTubers on these defamation lawsuits. And I just find it kind of funny that when is Brandon Tatum going to be held accountable for the things that he's saying online? I didn't heard Brandon Tatum say some false things. I didn't heard Brandon Tatum attack Nolan Wells' mom. I didn't heard Brandon Tatum say some false statements about Nolan Wells' mom. But nobody's holding him accountable. Nobody's putting his feet to the fire. And then when people start calling him out, such as D.L. Hughley, Dr. Umar Johnson, Trent Out Loud, and all these other content creators that are calling Brandon Tatum out, a lot of people want to defend Brandon Tatum. But when is enough is enough? Nolan Wells' family is trying to find the answers to what happened to their son on that fateful day on July 4th on Horn Island, where his body was discovered 2 days later, face down on the shoreline. And they just want answers. There's a lot of people talking, a lot of interviewing going on, a lot of witnesses recanting their statements. There's a lot of witnesses that are coming out, new evidence is coming out, but nobody has the answer. But they're letting Brandon Tatum say anything he wants, and nobody's holding his feet to the fire on these defamation lawsuits when it comes from him. I done heard Brandon Tatum go online, and anybody that says anything toward Brandon Tatum, there was this guy that went on a rant talking about Brandon Tatum, and he asking people in his comment and in his chat, should I sue him for defamation? Should I sue him? And then he said, I got to look at, his net worth and see if it's worthy for me to sue him, because I'm not going to be paying all this money and he don't have no money to fork over in a defamation lawsuit. So now Nancy Grace, she's on it. And I think Nancy Grace keeps bringing Brandon Tatum back on her show just to keep exposing him, to, paint a picture around Brandon Tatum to where she is debunking all his lies and she is letting him have it. But the thing about Brandon Tatum, he's not going back and forth with Nancy Grace. He's being very respectful. Very respectful. So today, Nancy Grace had him again on the show. And also Susan Hendricks was on the show as well. They was talking about the cell phone. And basically, Brandon Tatum is saying that, why don't Nolan Wells' mom give up the cell phone? Why don't she turn in the cell phone? Why come she hasn't turned in the cell phone without him knowing if that's what she did or not? And Nancy Grace and Susan Hendricks let him have it. And the crazy thing about it is, but when it comes from the boys, he is backing up everything that the boys are saying and what people are telling him. And he is agreeing to everything that the boys have done. That's that cover up. So before we get off into what Nancy Grace and Susan Hendricks had to say, y'all do me a favor, man. Y'all like, comment, and subscribe on the video. And we're going to listen to what Nancy Grace and Brandon Tatum was talking about at first. And then after that, man, we're going to get off into what Susan Hendricks had to say, because basically both of them are calling Brandon Tatum out because you're putting this narrative out like Nolan Wells' mom hasn't given no evidence to the local authorities. Take a listen.
If the friends are telling the truth, it's not going to be hard. They may be telling the truth. We didn't delete anything. That may be true. So it's a digital investigation, and frankly, it's not hard to do. The friends, who I believe now are your friends after your extensive interviews with them,
they're your friends,
may be completely exonerated on that. Now, my question to you is, you're stating that the friends, I'm talking about the young men on the Triton, that the friends have handed over their phones.
Yes, ma'am. They've handed on their phones to the FBI.
He's being very respectful.
Voluntarily.
I find that very commendable, because do you know how hard it is to get people to hand over a phone? That's why you have to issue a search warrant or a ducus tecum. So they have handed over their phones voluntarily.
Yes, ma'am. According to the lawyer and according to what they told me, they said they handed over to the FBI voluntarily. And the sad part is that I wish that Nolan's phone could be evaluated, because there have been claims that had not been substantiated. And I believe that the claims should have never gone out in the public unless they were substantiated, that there was a potential that things were deleted from his phone, which put these young boys in a bad position unnecessarily. It's not fair to say that you're throwing out that things were deleted, but obviously mom can't determine if they were deleted because she couldn't do a forensic investigation on the phone, so she really don't know. Which I'm not knocking her as her baby.
Deleted file and found things.
Well, she within Nancy
deleted file and found things, and we don't know.
And
that
she would have told.
I agree with you. I
but Nancy, she would have told the world.
I think you got it backwards, Tatum. Nobody.
She would have told the world if she would have found. She would have told the world, Nancy, if she would have found certain things that were actually deleted. She would have come out. I'm sure Benjamin Crump would have come out, and I would commend her to come out and encourage her to. If she saw that a picture of Nolan was deleted, a text from Nolan was deleted specifically talking about or inferencing certain things. If any of those things had happened, I would guarantee it should be criminal if they would not turn it over to law enforcement, so law enforcement can evaluate the phone and see if there were individuals communicating or deleting communication, because that is a crime. We just seen that happen in Texas, where young boys, there's a young man that drowned, they go and delete stuff off his phone, throw his clothes in the water, and they were arrested for tampering with evidence. And so if there had been deletions on the phone, even if there hadn't been a determination that anyone had murdered Nolan, tampering with evidence or deleting evidence, potential evidence, is a crime. And so the fact that the family, from my understanding and what the lawyers have said, that they haven't given this information over to law enforcement for them to evaluate, it's very troubling to me.
You don't know.
Okay, again, for the millionth time, you don't know they haven't. And I don't know that they have.
Thank you.
But what you're saying about tampering with evidence is absolutely true. But I have no reason to believe that Nolan Wells' family has tampered with evidence. That said, I think you've got things backwards. I do not want to convict or hang an innocent person. All I want to know is what happened. And I haven't even gotten to the Cito call. Is it real? Is it fake? I'd like somebody, i.e. you, if you have the original, to put it out there. But that's it. What? Don't go off on that. Susan Hendricks.
Now, you heard what Brandon Tatum was saying. You heard what Nancy Grace said. And we're going to get off into what Susan Hendricks had to say. And this is what I'm saying. Everything when it surrounded around the boys, Brandon Tatum goes with that narrative that everything is cut and dry. They done this, they done that. But we saw when he said that they took the polygraph test, which we found out that was a lie. And Nancy Grace and a lot of people debunked that. Even the own lawyer stated that they didn't take a polygraph test. And everything is like he's coming at Nolan Wells' mom, like putting her as the victim, like treating her like she did something wrong. And that's not the case. He's treating her like she's done something wrong. She's done some foul play. Because when it comes to talking about this Nolan Wells' cell phone, why come she hasn't turned it over? Why come she hasn't done an investigation? Because she can't do an investigation. So basically, he's saying that she hasn't gave no information to the authority to help this case out, to really help find out what happened to her son. So basically, he's saying she's withholding information because she hasn't turned over the cell phone, just like Nancy Grace said. What makes you think she hasn't? Ain't that in lines of defamation? You out here lying on Nolan Wells' mom? But y'all trying to come at people because y'all saying they're lying on the boys. Make it make sense. So let's get off into what Susan Hendricks had to say. And she basically backs Nancy Grace by telling Brandon Tatum, you don't know if she hasn't done what she's supposed to do. Let's take a listen.
Susan Hendricks is a veteran investigative journalist. She's the author of the bestseller Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi. She exhaustively researched and investigated the double murder of 2 little girls and came to the truth. Susan Hendricks, you've heard all of the evidence that we've got tonight, and there's so much more we haven't gotten to. I want to hear where things stand now. Is there a grand jury? Is there going to be a grand jury? Where is the phone? Was the boat searched? Just enlighten me in any way that you can, Susan Hendricks.
There is a grand jury. They are investigating. You mentioned Delphi. There's hints of this to me, meaning it's being tried in the court of public opinion. And it's troubling to me that we talk about the mom and we don't know that she didn't hand over the phone. So now she has to go on defense. And as Officer Tatum said, the boat has not been searched by cadaver dogs. So we know that. Grand jury is investigating. And the parents have to suffer through this. And also, all attorneys have to say is, I don't think it's my understanding that she didn't hand over the phone.
Thank you.
She wants to know what happened to her son. She wants to know, why wouldn't she hand over the phone? It's just obscene that she has to suffer through this even more.
Now, thank you, Susan Hendricks. Now, if you listen to what Susan Hendricks had to say, basically, she's saying she is suffering 2 times because Brandon Tatum is coming at her. She just lost her son on July 4th, 2026, on Horn Island. Now, like Susan Hendricks said, she got to be on the defensive because Brandon Tatum is adamant about her not giving over this phone. Like Nancy Grace and Susan Hendricks said, how do you know she hasn't turned over this phone? You go on with your own narratives. But like I said, anything that's surrounded around the boys, you agreeing with everything. And some of the stuff that you're putting out there is lies and false narratives, just like you're doing with Nolan Wells' mom. So when does the defamation come in play? When you're talking it. But these boys have lawyered up because they can't stand the heat that they're getting on social media because everybody senses there was some foul play and some wrongdoing. And that's why Nolan Wells is not with us today. And they have lawyered up for these defamation cases that Cox said he's going after people. And you got to pay the price. So when does it come a point when Brandon Tatum should get thrown in that category as well? Because all he's doing is spreading false narratives about Nolan Wells' mom. Come on, guys. Got to make it make sense, man. Make it make sense, man. Y'all do me a favor, man. Y'all get down in the comment section.
I see everyone in the comment section, hashtag salute. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you know every time I drop a hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot, tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And that will wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.